Aloha, everybody, and welcome to another Living Kuleana podcast. I'm here with my dear sister, Natasha Kealoha, and what we're going to do today is just talk about the Pluto retrograde. It's been a really interesting topic for many of us, but a lot of us don't even know what Pluto retrograde is, what Pluto means. And so I think we're going to start the conversation, sis, just by introducing yourself and also, your place now at Sisterhood of Mu as well as our astrologer.
Yeah.
And then we'll get into all the Pluto things.
All right, perfect. All right. Well, thank you so much, first of all, for having me on today. I'm so excited to be diving into this topic. As you said, my name is Natasha Kealoha, and I'm an astrologer, but I also go by a cosmic navigator. And this title really just honors my love of astrology and astronomy, as well as honors my ancestry, my Samoan ancestry. And yeah, I just really believe that astrology is a really amazing tool for self-discovery, healing, empowerment, and really can help us clarify kind of some of the energies that we're witnessing in our own lives as well as the collective. And Pluto retrograde and just Pluto in general is like such a huge topic in just astrology in general and also in mythology that I'm just really stoked to be getting into this topic with you today.
Amazing. And I feel like it's been going on for a while now. I think Pluto started, was it a couple months
In
ago?
May. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So in May, and no one's really like talked about it in depth. So,
Yeah.
I mean, there's lots of posts about it. But I wanted to really get in on an intimate, honest conversation about it. So let's start with, especially for people who aren't, familiar with astrology. Um, First of all, there's many different schools of astrology, but I know that you speak on all of them.
Mhm.
So first of all, what is Pluto?
Yes. That's a very great question.
What does it
So,
mean?
what is that? What is that even? Okay.
Yeah.
So, Pluto is a planet in our solar system, and he's been considered like the ninth planet in our solar system for a very long time, since I think like the discovery of him back in like the early 1900s. But then I think it was like 2005, 2006, he got demoted from planet to dwarf planet because of these other discoveries of different planets even further out than Pluto. And they realized that his size was actually the same size as these other planets that were considered dwarf planets. So that's when the astronomy world was like, ooh, well, then Pluto's a dwarf planet then. But in astrology, we're like, we're not telling the Lord of the Underworld that.
You're small. No.
Yeah, it's like you're little. But also it was really telling because the main planet, actually the two main planets that actually helped to kind of reclassify Pluto was the discovery of Eris, and Eris is the goddess of discord and chaos.
Hmm.
And also I believe it was Haumea too, who is a Mother Earth goddess in Hawaiian culture. So it was actually the divine feminine that helped to start to rebalance the planet that represents power in
Hmm.
astrology. So there's this recalibration of power and how we see it. And that's kind of really took place in the astronomy world, but then also that's how we translated it in the astrological world too. Yeah.
Yeah, very resonant right now.
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So technically you've explained Pluto. What is Pluto as an energy?
Mm. So Pluto as an energy is really interesting because, okay, so astrologically, I first met Pluto or kind of like became aware of Pluto, besides, science class in school, was in my astrology classes. And Pluto really is deeply connected to death, rebirth, and the underworld because Pluto is mythologically the Roman god of the underworld. And so this particular planetary energy is really centered around transformation, soul evolution, death, rebirth, completions. And it's interesting because rebirth has been kind of slapped onto Pluto's energy and also Scorpius, or Scorpio, the sign that it technically rules in tropical astrology. But honestly, I feel like Pluto itself and that energy is actually all about completions rather than just focusing on like, oh, okay, now I'm going to go into the rebirth. This is like, how do we get comfortable in the endings and the completions without running away from them?
Mm. Yeah, and you know what? What's been really loud in my community is that a lot of people are going through transitions. A lot of people are going through grievances, like
Mhm.
deaths of their ego, transitioning a whole life into a new one.
Yep.
people facing their deepest shadows and really feeling it intensely. I think because Pluto is really asking us to complete whatever
Yeah.
those old patterns, whatever those, you know, experiences that are maybe expired
Hmm.
or need to be completed to actually finish.
Yes. And it's like, and scene, complete. Thank
And
you. Yeah.
scene.
And scene.
We're done here.
Yes.
Um, so yeah, maybe speak a little bit about on the intensity and what's going on with Pluto right now. Like where is
Hmm.
Pluto in the
Yeah.
sky?
Yeah. So I actually have an entire um presentation on
Love
this
it.
too. But Pluto does go retrograde once a year. So that could also be one of the reasons why Pluto isn't really discussed that much, Pluto retrograde, because it's an annual thing.
Mhm,
And he usually, like the outer planets, those, we talk about outer planets that entails Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. So those like the farthest out planets that we have in our solar system. And they move so slowly that a lot of the times they can either A, fade into the background if they're not making any huge aspects, or when they go retrograde, it is once a year. So, like some astrologers kind of discount it because it's a thing that happens more regularly. But this particular retrograde is really something because in tropical astrology, Pluto just shifted into the tropical sign of Aquarius at the end of last year. And this was a huge deal because this was the first like really big Pluto shift into Aquarius, I think in like 245 years.
mhm,
So this is like once in several lifetimes transit that we're experiencing. And before that, when Pluto, before he like really shifted into Aquarius, he did this little dance between the last degrees of Capricorn and then the first degrees of Aquarius. And so he was kind of in and out in this in-between space for a while. And this particular Pluto retrograde, he's completely in Aquarius and has not gone back into Capricorn. So this is his
mhm,
first entire retrograde cycle in Aquarius. And this is the first time I think since like 1775 or something like that,
mhm,
when he's fully in that sign.
mhm.
And then in the true sky, he actually just entered Capricorn, the
Makes sense.
Capricornus constellation. And so it's interesting because he's actually at these beginning points of these two very interesting, very different energies in the true sky and then in tropical. So Capricorn in astrology really represents the past, tradition, structures, like things that we've always done. And then Aquarius is the energy of the new, of progress, vision, and the future. And Pluto's like activating both of these
Mm,
simultaneously in different systems. So we can be feeling this very interesting energy of being like experiencing simultaneous endings and beginnings right now.
yeah.
And it's like, what do I do?
It's
This for me.
beautiful though. It's such a
Yeah.
beautiful culmination of energies that are happening
Yeah.
because it is like transition,
Yes.
right? We are moving through a big transition. I think even as a collective and the systems that are kind of collapsing and asking for new systems to be
Yes.
created, new ways of life and living.
Yep.
So many things are being dismantled and changed, and everyone's feeling a lot of discomfort
Yes.
with that because people like consistency. They like to know what's going to happen, and
Yeah.
then one thing that's been really loud within my community is uncertainty, being really,
Mm,
really uncomfortable with uncertainty.
yeah.
And I love how Pluto is like in these times right now being like, well, I guess you're going to see if you do the work, right?
Right.
If you complete your
Exactly.
stuff, you will know. You won't know what's going to happen in the future
Yep.
for now, but at least you know that you can end certain things that aren't working out for you right
Yep.
now.
Yep.
Before we get into more of this, I want to
Yes.
just have you explain what a retrograde is.
Yes. Good question. Yes. So retrograde actually means, so retro means like backwards. And so retrograde planets, whenever you hear someone talking about a retrograde planet, usually you would hear Mercury retrograde is like the most
Mhm.
common
Yeah.
when you see it like in astrology communities or even on social media. Retrograde just means that from our vantage point on Earth, it looks like if we looked up at this particular planet going retrograde, it looks like it's going backwards in its
Mhm.
orbit. But this is just our apparent like being able to view it in, from Earth into space, because these planets actually are not going retrograde. It just looks like that from our vantage point on Earth. And the
Mm.
way that I found this really cool representation of how that works. And basically, if you imagine you're like on a freeway, right, and you're driving next to a car, one car's Earth and another car's another planet. And you're coming up alongside this planet, and then your car overtakes this particular other car, and now it looks like this planet or car is going backwards from your
Mhm.
point of view. So this is where Earth comes kind of into alignment with this particular planet, and she overtakes it in
Okay.
speed, and then it looks like it's going backwards now. So
Mhm.
that is what we're experiencing when planets go retrograde.
It's not actually going backward, it's just moving
Not
faster.
Yes. So
Okay.
Earth is, yeah, overtaking it. And then it's
Right.
like, yeah, it looks like it's going backwards from our point of view. But
Mhm.
it's so interesting because when you do tap into the energy of a retrograde planet, it does feel different than when it looks like it's going forward. And that really brings a really big significance to what we see in astrology. So that is, if this is a huge thing in the astrological community, as you know, like the difference or the really, yeah, the difference between the tropical chart and then also true sky, what we can actually see in the sky. And so it's so interesting because retrograde planets are just apparent. They aren't going backwards.
Mhm.
But so if you actually look at the astrological software, they're not going backwards. But from our vantage point on Earth, what we see and what we feel, it does look like it's going backwards. And
Mhm.
so retrograde planets represent a lot of different things. And so, in one sense, when planets enter retrograde, it's seen as this planet going into the underworld. So when Pluto goes into like retrograde once a year, that means he's actually going into his own domain.
Oh, beautiful.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's entering into the sacred dark. It's entering into facing shadow. It's entering into this descent where we're not just going up and out, we're actually fully coming down and in to the
Mm.
body, into our experience, into feeling what we're what we actually has been calling us to us for a while, probably, and really
Yeah.
processing and working through it.
Yeah, and I feel like with that retrograde energy, it feels more intense because of
Yeah.
that. Like what you explained, it's kind of like overtaking it.
Hmm.
And so we're feeling it a lot more intensely.
Yeah.
And also that we're both wearing black, honoring Pluto.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, beautiful. So I don't know if you want to go into your presentation now. If
Yes.
there's anything else we should touch on before we go into it that people should know about, maybe people who aren't familiar before we jump in.
I think honestly, I love that you brought up transitions because we are in such a transitional time right now, and not just with Pluto, but with pretty much every single planet in our solar system. It's going through some sort of transition or like dance between like the last several degrees of a sign and the first degrees of a sign. And so we're really in this super liminal space right now, like energetically, but also it's being mirrored in the cosmos right now. So really slowing down, taking your time, breathing, coming into the body is just so key right now. And so
Mm-hmm.
this is an invitation to also do that while we're in this presentation as well. Yeah.
Sit
Okay.
back and relax, everybody.
And some of this information, it's a lot of data to be like, because I'm going to be going into like, a deep dive into Pluto. And so just take what resonates and leave the rest. That's what my big suggestion always is. Yeah.
Beautiful. Yes.
Okay. So let me share my screen. Okay. And let me bring up from start. Okay. So first slide here is this is an actual picture of Pluto. And I always love to include pictures of the planets in any slide presentation if possible, just so that you can connect in with an actual celestial body that we're talking about. So Pluto is the name of the Roman god of the underworld. Pluto actually means wealth giver or riches. And we will be coming into the meeting later on what this can actually signify. It's so interesting. And Pluto is located beyond the orbit of Neptune in what's called the Kuiper Belt. And what's so interesting is because Pluto has a very erratic orbit, meaning that he can spend a lot of time in one sign or a very short amount of other time, and actually he actually can go inside the orbit of Neptune. So is like the order goes Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, but there's certain times in Pluto's orbit when he actually goes inside Neptune's orbit. And that was the last time this happened was February 7th, 1979 to February 11th, 1999. Pluto was actually closer to the sun than Neptune was.
Oh,
So
wow.
if you were born in that range, you actually have Pluto, the Lord of the Underworld, the Great Transformer, the planet of shadow work, closer to the sun and Earth than Neptune, which is really fascinating. And this only happens every 227 years. Okay. And then Pluto's orbit, it takes about 248 years to complete an entire orbit around the sun. On average, Pluto is around 3.7 billion miles from the
Wow.
sun. And again, has an erratic orbit and can spend anywhere between 12 to 31 years in one sign. It's wild.
Is this related to ages? Not.
Because it could be when we actually look at, the particular signs that Pluto stays in longer, but because the ages, like the terms turning of the ages, it's such a huge cycle of time. We're talking like 24 to 26,000 year cycles.
Mhm.
Pluto is a 248-year orbit, so he
Okay.
can do a lot of things in that span of time. But the fact that he is highlighting Aquarius in tropical astrology is so fascinating because so many people are talking about the turning of the age into Aquarius. And
Right. That's
yeah,
what I wanted to ask you about because a lot of people are saying, "Oh, we're in the age of Aquarius," and I'm feeling there's a little bit of a misunderstanding in that sense,
right. Yeah.
right?
So there is the way that we determine what quote unquote astrological age we're in is where the vernal equinox is, which is where these 2 points come together. So it's the ecliptic, which is the path of the sun, and the celestial equator, which is this kind of invisible line that demarcates the northern hemisphere to the southern hemisphere sky, and they intersect. And this intersection, when the sun hits it at the once a year, this is like whatever sign or whatever constellation this vernal equinox is in, that's determined of the age that we're in. And so the vernal equinox actually is currently in Pisces.
Oh, so everybody,
So
we are still in the age of Pisces.
so
Clarify.
we very much are still in that Piscean age. But what's so fascinating is I feel like the zodiac, like which is the constellations that reside on the ecliptic, are like the energy moves in waves, and so it's not this
Mhm.
static thing. And so we can be definitely feeling the incoming Aquarian energy for real coming in. Also, but really, we're still in the Piscean age, which is so fascinating because if we're thinking of this energy moving in waves, Pisces is the sign of the ocean.
Mhm.
So we can be feeling it all, and we can actually be
Yeah.
thinking that we're already in Aquarius because,
Yeah.
like, oh, we're really feeling it. But this is also a very big invitation to ground, to come
Yes.
center, because we can feel all the things in the Pisces sign and constellation.
Yeah.
And so just recognizing the Aquarian energy that's coming in and really honoring it, but also honoring that Piscean energy as well and not forgetting it or not trying to
Mhm.
bypass it is
Yeah. Yeah, and you and Brother Keone had mentioned this a few times. Like Pisces is kind of like that dream state
hmm
um sign, but then Aquarius, both of you say ask for receipts,
hmm
right? So we're no longer in fantasy. We have to actually kind of bring some validity
Yeah,
to things, right? And
yeah,
not just be in this like dissociative
right.
um behavior.
Right. It's like, where's the evidence? I think
Yeah.
is what Brother had mentioned. And
Mhm.
honestly, I love that because oftentimes, especially in the social media world, a lot of people just kind of regurgitate information without fully investigating what they're talking about
Yes.
or what they're saying. And this is not a knock on anyone. This is just that Aquarian energy is asking us to do a deeper dive and research what it is that you're actually talking about so that you are coming from a place of informing yourself
Yeah.
on what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, having a resource, like a valid
Yes,
resource of something. Yeah.
exactly. And that's not to knock on intuition at all. I
Yeah.
love the interplay of like an intuitive download of, oh, hey, I should research this thing. And then just having
Mhm.
all kinds of epiphanies because it's now backing up my intuitive hit, this information
Right.
that I'm finding.
Yeah, it's kind of like a remembering, and then you just when you go on and you look for other notes on it,
Yeah.
you're like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Kind of
Yes.
like that confirmation, right? And that
Exactly.
sense that it's
Yeah.
valid,
Yes.
but we don't
So
need
that
it, right?
yeah,
But
this is weaving that intuition of Pisces and that evidence of Aquarius.
yes,
Yeah.
balance.
Yes,
We need
exactly.
balance.
Yeah,
Okay, love
exactly.
it.
Yeah. And then also so Pluto goes retrograde once a year for approximately 5 months. So that actually means Pluto is going into the underworld for 5 months every year.
Yeah, so until October, basically.
Yes. hmm hmm
Fun
Yeah.
times, guys.
So much fun.
I'm here for you, by the way.
Yes, we've got you. Okay, so these are just some of the meanings. Just this is not an exhaustive list. This is just some of my really favorite, associations with Pluto, and
I
also with
just
the
Can I just look at it? I love how he's like, yay!
Party.
Yeah,
Yes.
we're in for a ride.
Yes. So
Loving
that is the glyph. That's the astrological glyph, or at least one of them for Pluto. There is another one that's like an actual P and like an L, but I think that's an initial for someone. And I'm
it.
like, I'm prefer this one.
Yes, I
Thank
love
you.
this one too.
Yes. So some of the meanings or astrological associations with Pluto, and also with Scorpio, because Scorpio is the sign that's deeply connected to Pluto. So endings, completion, and death definitely are really big
Mhm.
energies for Pluto. And then also learning to trust what is crumbling. So no longer trying to like, oh no, I have to duct tape this thing that's falling apart. And like, actually, what if we just let it all go and just
Yeah.
watched it unfold too?
Mm.
Yeah.
This reminds me of my husband who plays rugby, and he had his rugby shoes for years. And as rugby players, they like tend to duct tape their shoes.
Mm,
And then at one point, it was all duct tape, and I'm like, babe, I think you need to
it's
change your
time to
shoes.
time to go shopping.
Thankfully, yes.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, and it's really funny too because I kind of always envisioned when sometimes, especially with Pluto energy, when we start to fear the endings or we fear the change that's happening, it's like, oh no, I can't let this thing go because I'm so used to it. I'm familiar with this thing. And so you had talked about the unknown and uncertainty. That is definitely in the realm of Pluto. And this is about trusting that uncertainty and knowing that you can navigate through it, even if you don't have a clear destination yet.
Hmm.
Pluto's there to really help guide you through that kind of foggy underworld moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. And I also think it's because we're all afraid of dying too, like physically dying. And so
Hmm.
I think energetically, like within our egos too, the ego is afraid of dying because it's held us in such comfort or fake comfort and security
Yep.
for so
Yep.
long. Yet the soul is starting to speak louder now and saying, I want you to be in full surrender and faith that we can move
Hmm.
through this together instead of shunning the ego and
Right.
saying, well, or like going through an ego death and thinking
Hmm.
it's the end of an ego, but it's not. It's just the ego transforming into something else.
Yes.
Like we are transforming into something else
Yep.
too, another
Yep.
state of being, right?
Yep.
So
Exactly. It's an evolution.
yes,
Yes.
exactly.
Yeah. And so one of the big questions that always comes up whenever I work with Pluto energy is, do we honor and revere endings just as much as we honor and revere the beginnings?
Mm, acceptance
And
death.
exactly. And
Yeah.
if um, we're really, life is designed to live, right? And so that we can get really comfortable and used to that living part. It's like, wait, but what about the unknown and the death? And
Mm,
so this is where that Pluto energy is around just really trusting and surrendering into that ancient code of knowing that what is ending will also be transformed into something new.
yeah, and I always feel like if you can fully accept life, that means you're also fully accepting death because it is part of the
Yes,
cycle of life.
exactly. Yep,
And
exactly.
and in that sense, then we can look at life as cyclical and not linear because linear
Hmm.
tends to say, "Oh, here's the ending,"
Yep,
but the cycle is just, okay, we're going through another phase of
exactly.
what life is.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. Um, and other meanings are transformation, shadow work, facing fears. Also, Pluto and Scorpio are the sign in the planet connected to psychology. And I had mentioned this in our talks for Summit
Hmm.
for Whispers of Remembrance. And so the mainstream definition of psychology is study of the mind. But
Hmm.
psyche is the Greek word for soul. And so psychology actually means study of the soul.
Mm.
And so Pluto is deeply connected to the soul and soul evolution.
Oh,
And then
love
also
it.
upheaval, which like really like categorizes like breakdowns leading to breakthroughs is a huge piece of Plutonian energy. And then also Pluto represents divine will. So Mars represents personal will, so like our own personal will, and then Pluto represents divine will, which is like the will of source, where
Mhm.
this is where I started to really relax into that unknown and be like, oh, well, yeah, source has my back. And so do
Yeah.
I. And so it's like, okay,
Yeah.
even though it's really uncomfortable right now, I know that this feeling is temporary and it's actually getting me to where I'm meant to go right now. Yeah.
That's so resonant. Like honestly, what I'm hearing, even going through my own stuff,
Yes.
but my friends, my family, my clients, everybody is feeling into this like real scary uncertainty. And all I keep saying is just have faith. Just have faith and
Yes.
fully surrender and have some intentional actions that will
Hmm.
help you move through this,
Yep.
but have this deep faith. And I know it's really hard for a lot of us to surrender.
Hmm.
But that's I feel what Pluto is asking us to do is to fully surrender.
Yep.
And I love Pluto. I thought I would have like a really intense time with Pluto, but I feel like it's actually very nourishing for me because of I do a lot of shadow work.
Yes.
And so for me, I'm like, let's go. Let's get everyone to
Let's
be
go.
accountable. Let's
Yes.
let's get people to finish off their, there's stuff that is not helping, that is
Yes.
causing them more suffering, because that
Yeah.
is so nourishing for me to transmute that into something more beautiful. Like on the other side of fear is what?
Mm,
Beauty, joy,
yes.
everything, right?
Yep. Yep. And actually, it's so interesting that you feel such a a deep connection to Pluto because this is a great segue into my next slide. And this is a very interesting take on Pluto as mother.
Mm, yeah.
Yes. So here we go. So according to Barbara G. Walker, who's the author of The Woman's Encyclopedia of Myths and Secrets, highly recommend this book. It's so good. This is a quote from this from for about Pluto. So, quote, an earlier Pluto was not male but female, a daughter of the Cretan Earth Mother Rhea, one of the Titans or elder deities. She was apparently the second person of the original Demeter Trinity, and Demeter is the great mother goddess in Greek
Mhm.
mythology.
Yeah.
And so the triple goddess that makes up Demeter would be Kor or Kori, the maiden or the virgin, Pluto, the mother, and then Persephone, the destroyer or the wise woman or crone. And so riches, that meaning of Pluto, typically meant the mother figure whose breast poured forth abundance.
Mm.
Later, Pluto was masculinized, and in Christian times, he, quote unquote, became synonymous with the devil.
Ha, makes so much sense. So much
Yes.
sense.
Yes. Yeah. And so this was really interesting to me because there is that myth of Persephone, who's the goddess of spring and also goddess of the underworld, where she was kidnapped by Pluto slash Hades and dragged into the underworld. And there's even like a painting called The Rape of Persephone, all kinds of stuff about Persephone just being forced into the underworld. But according to this, Persephone is the destroyer aspect of this triple goddess, and she's already the queen of the underworld.
Wow.
So, according to this, Persephone wasn't kidnapped and dragged into the underworld and tricked to stay by Pluto or Hades, as the mainstream myth would suggest. She wasn't forced to enter the shadow. She was already the queen of that realm. So, this shows that Persephone, the goddess of spring and the underworld, knows when it is time to enter the darkness and when it is time to emerge into the light. And
Wow.
Pluto, her mother, instead of mourning her disappearance, honors her daughter's cycles of birth, death, and rebirth.
Ugh. You know what's crazy is that the mother energy has been so loud this year,
Hmm.
like both in the earth realm and
Yeah.
now in the cosmos.
Yeah.
And this is just, it's just confirming for me that there we are in motherly times. We are in the mother energy. We're in the matriarchal times right now. And the fact that Pluto is the mother is because she gets to hold your life ceremony. No matter what you go through in life, your ups, your downs, she's always there for you. The divine mother, the healed mother, is always there to hold you in unconditional love and acceptance, knowing that you belong and that you're always safe in her arms. And this is such a beautiful way to see Pluto instead of this, like, oh my God, God of the underworld, scary.
Right.
Instead, and see her as a comforting energy, like full faith and surrender into that mother that you can be held by, you know?
Yep.
Oh, so beautiful. Wow.
And the way that I envisioned it too was this connection to the womb. So
Yeah.
we're, in the womb and then we come out into the world and then we go through these other processes of death and then rebirth. And so this process of death, I kind of saw it as entering into the womb of the mother to
Mm,
go and really transform because the womb is darkness. It can be a void and all of these
yeah.
things. But what if it actually held you in ceremony and sacredness rather than like, oh no, it's this thing I'm fearing.
Mm,
And so we get to go process these fears and be held at the same
yeah.
time. So
That's it.
this,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, so beautiful. Thank you for that. Wow. I
You're
never
welcome.
even realized this at all until you brought it up today. And I was like, and that's
Mhm.
why, like when you talk about Pluto being masculine,
Mhm.
um, I wasn't really feeling it as masculine.
Yeah.
And it was only there because, like you said, Christianity kind of like made it synonymous with the devil. The
Yeah.
devil's also connected to the ego. So
Hmm.
making us think that our egos are the devil,
Right.
bad thoughts are bad.
Right.
Actually, not. They just need to be loved and held.
Yeah. And this is also demonizing the mother and demonizing the feminine. So
Yeah.
to make it scary to go into the underworld or go into the womb to transform and then be reborn again.
Yeah.
So this is actually turning that whole myth on its head.
Oh,
And I love that.
girl. Coming in hot. Okay, let's
Right?
go.
Okay. Okay. So now going into Pluto retrograde 2025. So we're going to kind of go into the tropical astrological interpretations of this. And so Pluto retrograde is from May 4th, 2025 to October 13th, 2025. And so again, when planets go retrograde, they appear to be moving backwards in their orbit. And in tropical astrology, this is Pluto's first retrograde entirely in the Aquarius sign since 1779. I think I said 1775 in the beginning. So Pluto and Aquarius themes are around facing the shadow of inauthenticity, plagiarism, AI technology, disconnection from emotions, isolation, fear of change, and power imbalances,
Hmm.
which we can definitely see kind of playing out in the collective right now. And I think it's so interesting to include this fact. So Pluto also is deeply connected to the energy of decay.
Hmm.
And in Aquarius, in shadow, it like really kind of rose the AI shadow like technology piece, where it's like it can also fear decay.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. And so this really brings into question to bring integrity on how we work with tech, like moving forward for sure.
Yeah.
And so when the shadow is faced, it can bring gifts of originality, sacred revolution, finding communities that honor the true you, confidence in what makes you unique, and radical enlightened vision for the future. This is like what like is so present when we are doing the work to move through the Pluto and Aquarius shadow. And as a note, I just wanted to put this in here. If you have any placements in your tropical chart in the early degrees of Aquarius, Taurus, Leo, or Scorpio, you are or soon will be undergoing a Pluto transit. And these transits deconstruct what is out of alignment so you can build a new solid foundation. And just speaking from experience, because my very conscious Pluto, my first and only really conscious Pluto transit, occurred in 2019, right as soon as a dark night of this, almost down to the date. Like it's wild. And like my life felt like it melted when I had Pluto go over my moon in my tropical chart. And because he moves so slowly, or she moves so slowly, it's a prolonged transit. So you can actually have a Pluto transit for up to a year.
Wow.
And this is like a really all about that breakdowns leading through breakthroughs. And it's so fascinating because when this Pluto transit happened, I became an astrologer.
Amazing. How beautiful. What a gift. Thank you,
Yeah.
Pluto.
Right. And
Thank
of course, it was
you.
really, I mean, I've had to work through a lot of shadow in order to like even confidently say that I'm an astrologer because I felt so deeply uncomfortable with it for years. And I think probably it had something to do with that Pluto transit, where it's
Yeah.
like maybe look at your shadow and the things that you're afraid of. But even though it's meant to be intense, these Pluto transits, so that you can no longer ignore what needs to be looked at. That's how I kind of translate Pluto intensity,
Yeah.
because it's just right there. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
okay.
No, no turning back.
Yeah, there
Face
you
it
are.
right now.
Yes, exactly. So all of this though is to work out for your benefit and the benefit of everyone that you know and the collective, because it's really deconstructing what is illusion and what has been false and what has been fake, so that the real can come through.
Yeah. Can you explain to people how to find their Pluto transit in their
Yes. So the free astrology software that I use is you can go to astro.com
Mhm.
and I don't even think you might need an account, but it's free. And
Mhm.
all you do is you just need your birth time, birth location, and birth time, birth location, oh my God, and birth
Date.
date.
That would help.
That's hilarious. I'm like, there's something key. Yeah, your birth date. Um, and once you enter all of that into your chart, it'll like you just press calculate and it'll bring up just I think the regular like Mercury, like all the typical planets. And
Mhm.
Pluto will, I think in this particular software, Pluto's glyph is the one that I showed. So you can
Right.
actually go and find where Pluto is. And so I just highly suggest if this calls to you, just deep diving
Mhm.
into where Pluto is in your chart. And then also there is a little button when you're looking at your chart that says add transits on
Right.
astro.com. And so I think it like highlights a little green area, like little green glyphs on out on the outside of your chart. And you just look for Pluto's glyph, and then you can see where Pluto is transiting in your chart, like what house he's in, if he's
Yeah.
aspect planets. And then that can tell you if you're undergoing a Pluto transit and
And
going
if they ever
undergoing.
want to deep dive, then they can contact you.
Oh yes, I'm also up for readings. And I promise I know that you need a birthday too.
Yeah,
To go
please,
into
please
this
find out
chart.
what your birth date is.
Yes. That's hilarious. It's so funny. Words have been so hard for me this morning. And I just think that's hilarious. Okay. So moving on to Pluto in the living sky. So
Mhm.
this was a screenshot that I took on astronomy software on my app, my phone today, or yesterday actually. And this actually shows where Pluto is. And as you can see, it's in the constellation of Capricornus.
Mhm.
And just to kind of give a little background on this, tropical astrology, which is what we just kind of talked about, the tropical chart is not an accurate representation of where the planets are in the actual sky. And even though there is a lot of information you can gather in the tropical chart, I also suggest looking at where planets are in the living sky as well, because it just adds a whole other layer of realness and depth on
Mhm.
what's going on actually in the cosmos. So Pluto in true sky in Capricorn, like a little deep dive on this. So, Capricorn is associated with dedication, responsibility, integrity, systems, lineages in your ancestors, and also specifically the father line.
Oh, this makes so much sense. I have so much to say there. Okay, keep going.
Interesting. Okay. Yes. And so Capricorn, it's really interesting. I'm going to go back to this really quick. So, as you can see, the art of the constellation. In modern times, Capricorn's kind of really associated with a mountain goat because Capricorn and that energy is all about like conquering your goals and like kind of envisioning your goals at the top of whatever mountain it is that you're climbing. And so the mountain goat is definitely associated with Capricorn. However, the ancient animal that's associated with Capricornus is actually the sea goat.
Mm.
And it's actually a goat that had the tail of a fish, or like even some consider it a mermaid tail. And this can actually show that Capricorn in astrology is definitely considered an earth sign. And some of the shadow is repression of emotions. However, if you look
Ah.
at the sea goat, there is this access to water and to emotions that are actually innately tied to this particular constellation in this sign that has been
Mhm.
forgotten.
Wow.
So, this actually really shows that Capricorn is designed to reach the highest heights of your tallest mountains and also the deepest depths of your internal oceans because
Mm.
he's designed to do both.
Wow. I
Yes.
didn't realize that. I thought it was just a goat.
Yeah, right? It's so interesting because just like how we're in a remembrance ceremony of where we've come from, our own ancestors, there's a remembrance ceremony happening for these archetypes that are in our cosmos, where it's like, oh, we're just going to cut off the tail of the goat and just make him land based. It's like, okay, but then we're also forgetting about the whole part where he's connected to the ocean and the water
Yeah,
too.
because when you see the goat symbol in a lot of the mainstream astrology, they just show the head
Yeah,
of the goat, but we don't even look at the
the
bottom.
body.
We're not even aware.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that means it's actually been hidden the whole
Yeah.
time, or it's been kind of veiled. But
Hmm.
now there's this unveiling happening for our own selves personally, and then also even in just different systems like astrology too.
Yeah. And I
And
feel
yeah,
like everyone's been, well, most people that I've been interacting with have been in such a length of suppression of emotions over years, years and years and years. And now that Pluto is here, it's kind of forcing them to not repress those feelings anymore. And
yeah.
so they're coming up in like droves.
Yes.
And so, and that's why I also feel like it's so intense for everybody because perhaps they pushed it down so much that at this point, Pluto's like, well, you got no choice now. I'm asking
Yeah.
you to look at them. And so they're coming up like
Yep.
real quickly. And it's kind of like one after the other, like, oh, remember this, remember this, remember this. And I was like,
Yeah.
stop.
Oh my God. Yes, I completely resonate with whatever everything that you just said because when I said that I was having a Pluto transit back in 2019, my moon is in Capricorn in tropical
Mhm.
astrology. And
Mm.
I was very earthy, where I was like like in shadow, Earth represses those emotions. It disconnects from it. It's like, oh, what emotions? I've buried them. Or I've already moved through them. It's fine, you know.
Yeah.
And then when that Pluto transit happened, like I really describe it as like the trauma that I had suppressed for like since my early days, all of a sudden just came up and out at the same time. And just kind of to mitigate this, there were signs for years leading up to this transit that it was like, hey, maybe you should like look at this. Like maybe you
Yeah.
should uncover the things that are rising for you right now. But I was a pro at avoiding things too. I was like, no, I don't have to do that. I'm good. And then cue all the distractions. Like I'll
Yeah.
just distract myself with all the things that I don't have to look at that. That's when Pluto though came to and was like, all right, it's your choice.
Mhm.
Like you can
Oh
actually
my
like
God.
move through the stuff before it actually starts to like, oh hey, it's right in your face now.
Mhm.
And that was like it was a big collapse that happened for me in 2019.
I totally feel into that because I was remembering, and I think I might have went through this Pluto and like maybe 2011, 2012 when I went
Mm,
through my own downfall.
yes.
But years leading up to it, I remember like distracting myself from my feelings all the time by going out and partying and
Yes.
doing the alcohol and some of the
Yep.
party drugs and blah blah blah, and
Hmm.
like really suppressing the deepest traumas that I had because it was so painful. And I was
Yeah.
like, nope, let's just pile on everything on top and bury it all so far down that I don't
Hmm.
have to. And then in like 2011, 2012, I was just like, oh, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
then this has also shifted me on this path of being a medicine woman, right?
Yes.
So it's like,
Hmm.
okay, I see you, Pluto.
I see you. Yes, and it's like it's really designed to help us see what we've been not looking at, what we've been running away from, what we've been
Mhm.
repressing. And it's doing this because on a deeper soul level, we know that we're meant to be on a certain path.
Yeah.
And Pluto's helping us remember that. It's like,
Mm.
oh, hey, here you go. And this is not to put a timeline on any of the things that you're experiencing. It's like, oh, I have to achieve this thing because Pluto told me this thing, right?
Yeah.
This is this is really about again just letting go of what we think we have to be doing or what we should be doing and just actually feeling what we're feeling in the moment and
Yeah.
like really developing a relationship to what's arising within so that we can really start to work with it and process it and integrate and heal it.
Yeah, and I love how this retrograde gives you like 5 months because it's
Hmm.
spacious, right? There's like a
Yeah.
nice spaciousness here, whereas like something like a Mercury retrograde isn't that long. I don't think
Yeah. It's
it's a
like three
complete,
weeks. Yeah.
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 But at least you have like this time to really sit with it because we all know that you can't just like overnight change patterns.
Right.
It's kind of a practice to change your
Yes.
patterns and to really consent to wanting to do that,
Yeah.
and to being in devotion to that. So I love how Pluto gives us spaciousness for that.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And
Mm.
I love that you brought in the spaciousness piece too, because this lets go of the urgency piece that we
Mhm.
feel like we have to, like, oh no, I have to have all this stuff like figured out right now.
Yeah.
And also, it happens for 5 months every year, like
Hmm.
every year, which actually shows then that humans are actually designed to go down into the underworld for a certain amount of time in order to check in
Yeah.
with the self, in order to
Yeah.
go into that sacred darkness so that you can really actually transform from the inside out. And then, actually, I believe that's when your light starts to get brighter.
Oh, so true.
Yeah. Yeah.
Give yourself space to be in stillness, guys.
Yes.
Everybody,
Yes.
please. Do it for your own
Yeah.
good.
Yes. And also, this is like, yeah, for your own good and also the good of everyone that you
Exactly.
know. Because now, when you do that too, and you really, walking your talk in that particular area,
Mhm.
just your energy then shifts rooms, like the
Yeah.
energy of the collective, just by you doing your own work, which is really beautiful.
Yeah. And and then I think that speaks into self-reflective love. What Keone has
Hmm.
taught us is aloha ma is to be in devotion to being in a right relationship with yourself. Because when you
Yeah.
are, that's when you start to be around the right environments, the right people, the right,
Yep.
things that are going on in your life. And then things just start to align. And you're like,
Yes.
wow, this is my life.
Right.
This is amazing.
Yes. And I
And
think that's
allow
where
this.
that divine will comes in.
Yep.
It's like, oh, the will of source is now merging with your personal will. You're no longer fighting like against yourself, against, the universal cosmos, order of things. And now you're in the flow of it. And that's where I think you're coming into that surrender piece that we were talking about.
Yep.
And surrender usually sometimes in mainstream is like kind of associated with giving up or
Yeah.
like, defeat. When
Yeah.
really surrender is like when I feel into it, it's all about relaxation and just
Yeah.
relaxing, where it's like a clenched fist, and then surrendering is like
Yeah, yeah.
deep
Oh,
breath.
totally. Like it's kind of just like a relief and also like an
Yeah.
acceptance, like a full
Yes,
acceptance of the experience. It's like,
exactly.
well, this is what it is.
It is what it is. And no longer trying to change it, like
Yeah,
change what happened in the past. Because I feel like that's where we
yeah.
get like kind of a little caught up.
Mhm.
And just accepting what happened in the past and just being exactly where you're at now, I think can work wonders for your nervous system.
Oh,
And also just being able to be in the flow of your own life.
yeah, because when we can accept what has happened, right, then we don't no longer dwell on the past.
Yes,
Because the
exactly.
dwelling is also what I find hold people back from moving
Yeah.
forward is just these memories and then this idea that, oh, this is always going to happen to me or something like that.
Yeah.
And when you allow yourself to surrender, you're like, okay, well, no, this isn't me right now in this moment. It's not existing right now. You know,
Yeah.
it's already been in the past. That chapter has been closed, but I haven't closed it because I'm always, dwelling on it. So you're
Right.
closing that part of your life yet.
Yep, exactly. And it's almost like you're trying to stay in a certain part of your own story
Hmm.
when the rest of your story is actually being called to be written. It's like, no, but
Yeah.
I love this
Oh,
part. And it's like, but what about the part that it's like,
yeah.
is your organic next steps?
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Stop regurgitating your story.
Right. Process it, honor it, but also
Yeah.
don't get so caught up in it that we're trying to relive it.
Yeah. It's like, oh, didn't I read this already?
Wait, this feels familiar. It's getting deja vu. Yeah,
Yeah.
and we're really in that energy of the serpent year too this year. So we're the year of
Yes.
the wood snake. And so that serpent energy for me is all about shedding the skin.
Hmm.
And so it's interesting because, the actual snakes, when they go through that process of shedding their skin, if they don't shed their skin, they die.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
so if you're trying to stay in your old skin, it's not that you're going to die. It's just that it feels like you're
Feels like
getting
you're
like
dying.
feels like you're dying. Exactly. It feels like you're dying. It feels like something is vastly out of alignment because it
Yeah.
is, because you're already shed that skin and
Mhm.
now you're actually bigger, bolder, more in
Mm.
alignment with who you are, but you're trying to fit yourself into that old, smaller skin.
Yeah.
And it's like, why?
Yeah.
Honor where you're at. Yes.
Look at it. It's shedded already. It's
Yes.
dry. Like, you want to go back in that, bro? Like,
Right? And
don't
so,
break.
yeah, and so this is a really big just invitation for people this year to truly let go of old identities, old
Mm.
patterns, old conditioning, and really just be fully here now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We are waiting for you to remember who you are.
Yes.
For real.
Yes. Yeah. And so, with Capricorn being designed to go to the highest heights and the deepest depths of like, the tallest mountains and the deepest oceans,
Hmm.
all it needs to do is just remember how to feel, trust your intuition, and then relax into its built-in brilliance. So, Capricorn, I always say Capricorn is designed to be good at whatever it is meant to do. Like at whatever it chooses to do, it's going to be good at it. And so,
Yeah.
really making sure whatever it is that you are doing, you love it because Capricorn can just stay in that process of like, okay, no, I can keep doing this because I'm good at it, because like just keep doing the thing. But this is where it's like, okay, well, this is where we get to ask ourselves this question where do we want to continue to do this thing that is kind of draining our energy but we tend to be good at it, or actually go after this thing that our soul is calling us to do? And there
Mm.
may be some fear that arises with that because it may be a new area, it may be something that's completely different than the thing that you've been doing for so long. But
Yeah.
remember, Capricorn is designed to be good at whatever it does.
Mm.
So even going into the avenues that your soul is calling you to do, it's already just built in brilliance for it to back you up on that.
Yeah. That feels so nourishing for my Capricorn rising. I
Yes.
just feel like, yeah,
Yes.
did it. Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And also, Capricorn is also the sign that's considered quote unquote the rule follower.
Mhm.
And it can get kind of really caught up in like, oh no, I have to do all of these like this certain way because this is what the rules dictate.
Yeah.
And this is this is where we get to ask, who wrote those rules? Did
Right.
you write them? Or have you been following someone else's rules from someone else's system for who knows how long? And so this is where we get to go in and remind Capricorn that you can actually write your own rules.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say because I never liked following rules, especially when I was a
Mm,
kid.
Yeah.
I would always like write my own story, write my own
Yes.
rules. And that was like, I never wanted anyone to be my boss. And I think that's why I chose the path I'm on right now, too. It's like, I'm going to do it my way.
Yes. Yes. And I think it's so funny because one of the archetypes of Capricorn is the boss, but it
Oh,
has this interesting shadow part of following the rules. And
yeah.
so this can be a very interesting experience for some people who have Capricorn, really prominent Capricorn placements in their chart of like, yeah, they're designed to be their own boss. They're designed to like, really write their own rules, but sometimes they can be in that journey of realizing and recognizing that, oh, I don't have to do this thing that everyone else has been telling me to do. I can actually
Yeah.
do it differently. Yeah.
Love that.
Okay. So some Pluto retrograde and Capricorn themes is facing the shadow of repressing your emotions, which is similar to the shadow of Pluto retrograde in Aquarius. So Aquarius and Capricorn actually both in shadow disconnect from emotions. And so also facing the shadow of perfectionism, fear of change, choosing familiarity and comfort over evolution, also gatekeeping, and then also being stuck in the past, like stuck in loops. Pluto retrograde in Capricorn can really bring this to the forefront. And then Pluto retrograde in Capricorn gifts are deconditioning from old patterning, but must be willing to do the internal work because Capricorn is very dedicated to the work. Like,
Devotion.
yes, devotion. And then celebrating where you are now, even if you aren't exactly where you want to be yet. So this
Mm,
is something that I say in my readings too, is you can imagine just all of these different mountains that you're trying to climb in order to achieve these goals that are at the top of these huge mountains, right? And we can be on multiple mountains at different elevations on each and on achieving these goals. And sometimes in shadow, Capricorn can get really beat itself up on wherever it is on the mountain because it can be like, oh, I'm not up at the top yet. Oh, I'm like, I'm not where I want to be. I see it, but like I'm not there yet. And so it can
yeah.
really start to get down on the self on wherever it is at on its journey. So my whole thing is to stop wherever you're at on whatever mountain you're on and actually see how far you've come up the mountain so
Mm.
far and applaud it. And this even means if you haven't even come up to that mountain yet, like even just recognizing that there is a mountain that you would like to achieve and there's like a goal at the top, that is a step on the journey.
Oh,
And so Saturn and Capricorn are very intricately connected because Saturn is the ruling planet of Capricorn in astrology.
mhm.
And they are deeply connected to work. And so sometimes there is a shadow of overwork with both of this sign and planet. And my thing is though, is if it's all about balance, right? So if Capricorn is connected to work, then it must also be connected to celebration.
Oh,
And because this is where we get to celebrate every single step we've taken in order to achieve whatever it is that we've achieved so far, or whatever it is that we would like to achieve in the future. And so yeah, so celebrate it. Celebrate exactly where you're at now.
I feel like you're speaking to me because I'm always doing and like finishing stuff. And
Yeah.
then I always move on to the next thing. And Keone called me out for this.
Yes.
Like, do you celebrate? I was like, no,
Yeah.
actually don't. I'm just like, okay, cool, done. Next.
Yes. Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. But
Mm-hmm.
it's funny the other day, I was just like lying down outside and I put my yoga mat on the ground and I was just like putting my face on the grass. And then I was speaking to Mother Nature and I was like to our Earth Mother and she was like, maybe you should celebrate. I was like, okay. So I was like,
Yes.
I'm celebrating by hugging you.
Yes.
Like that's my nourishment is to just celebrate my relaxation because I'm
Yeah.
always on the go, go, go all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Just because I'm so used to like getting shit done,
Yes.
you know.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I'm like, you know what? Maybe you need to celebrate that you've gotten so much done.
Yes.
Like, wow.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I
And I'm
love that
actually
you,
loosened
yeah.
my chest right now.
Yes. And I love that you brought that in too, because just like where it's like, oh, like beating the self up of not like achieving the, goals that we set out for ourselves yet.
Yeah.
Sometimes Capricorn shadow can reach that top of the mountain and be like, okay, what next mountain do I need to climb? And then it just it's not even that it forgets it, it's just like, okay, cool, on to the next. It's like a to-do list. We just start checking it off. And
Yeah.
then we forget to actually be like, look at that thing that I just climbed and like achieved. Like, wow.
Wow.
Yeah. So this is really just honoring your path so far and the
Mm.
steps that you've taken and just bringing yourself current.
Thank you for that reminder. Totally needed that.
Yes. And this is speaking for everyone because this is an invitation for everyone because Pluto it just entered into the first like sort of area of that Capricorn constellation.
Hmm.
Yeah. And so this is where we get to really recalibrate and really reconstruct our relationship to work and achievement.
Hmm.
Because in Western society, especially, we're pretty much, taught to like just achieve, 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 achieve,
Yeah,
and
that's
then like don't stop because,
mhm.
you need to keep doing this thing. But there's like not even a celebration even happening for the things that you have already accomplished. And sometimes just getting out of bed is an accomplishment and just applauding yourself for that if that happens to be where you're at on your journey.
This is bringing up something so funny for me because
Yes.
I've always been someone who lacked acknowledgement from others for certain things. And I'm like, how come no one sees like all the good things I'm doing? I'm like,
Mm,
but do you?
yeah.
Oh my God, big epiphany just right now.
Yes.
Oh, I haven't acknowledged myself. No
Mm-hmm.
wonder no one else
Mm-hmm.
has acknowledged it, you know?
Yep. Yep.
Wow.
Yes.
Who knew this is going to be a session?
Right? And so this is a beautiful, I love that you brought that in too, because sometimes we can look for other people to recognize what we've been doing. It's like, oh, where's that recognition from, these outer sources telling me, oh, you did great, you did amazing, look at this thing. And
Yeah.
usually that's the invitation to start celebrating, is
Yeah,
the external source being like, wow, look at what you
exactly.
did. It's like, you know what? I should celebrate that. But this
Yeah.
is really Pluto going really spotlighting Capricorn in this way is have you really just connected in and witnessed what you've already done? Have you become a sacred witness for your own life
Mm.
and really honoring what you see?
Mm.
Yes.
I just grunted because
Yes.
it was like, yes, needed.
Yes. So
Wow.
this is where, usually we witness other people in their achievements or wherever that they're at on their paths and we can totally celebrate it. Why can't we celebrate the self and what we have done?
Who can resonate here? Please let us know. Know that I'm not alone,
Yeah.
please.
Girl, you're not alone. Because that's definitely been a part of my story as well.
Hmm.
And also I was the same way of getting these degrees and then just being like okay on to the next, literally
Yeah.
no break in between going to the next whatever it is.
Yeah. You have Capricorn in your chart too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Capricorn midheaven and Capricorn moon.
Oh, okay, there. Oh, yes, the
Yes.
moon. Yes, you're
And
right.
Saturn in
Mhm.
Capricorn as well.
Oh,
Like
wonderful.
a lot of cap. Yes, I have a lot of cap in my chart. And yeah, so there is this really big invitation for us all to just honor and witness your own life and your own journey and really celebrate every step that you have
Yeah.
taken to get where you're at.
Again, it's like Pluto energy's the mother. She's like, well, why don't you, let's go celebrate. Let's
Yeah.
go for ice cream or
Yeah,
something.
right.
Yeah, and
Right.
that
Yes.
recognition from the mother energy
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
being so proud, like
Yeah.
proud of you. You should be proud of yourself too.
Exactly. Yes. And so even if it's hard to do that right now, because it's definitely can be take practice to do that, you
Hmm.
can even just tap in, even if there's not humans doing it on this like level of like recognizing what you have done, just know
Yeah.
Pluto is recognizing what you've done.
Oh, yeah.
The Pluto energy is like, girl or
Thank
dude,
you.
you got this. Yes. So, yeah. So being able to really decondition from old patterning, which that old pattern could be just go, 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 and not honoring where you're at.
Mhm.
And also to work through generational trauma and recognize and honor generational gifts as well. Because sometimes it can be that generational trauma can be so loud that we forget that there's also gifts that have been passed down. And then sometimes, though, that journey in order to access the gifts, we need to kind of work through the trauma in order to
Mhm.
access that. So that can also be a gift that comes through a Pluto and Capricorn, but sometimes it can be really intense because it can bring kind of up that trauma aspect. So
Yeah.
just be gentle with yourself as you're moving through that if that's what you're experiencing. And then also allowing yourself to feel, process, and let go. This is
Mm.
a deep letting go process with anywhere Pluto is at. It's all around letting go.
Mm. Love that. I find that so funny when you mention like the ancestors,
Mhm.
and also like the generational gifts. And then this is where I'm gonna kind of put in the, like the father line too,
Yes.
is so around when Pluto retrograde started was around the time my grandmother passed away and we buried her.
Yeah.
And she's my dad's mom.
Wow.
So I was really diving deep into my dad's lineage and like
Mm.
who her parents were and then we started Whispers of Remembrance when we went on an ancestral journey and we started mapping out our ancestors. And I was looking at my dad's line and like found out that his grandmother was a midwife and a nurse, and then his great grandpa was like a lawyer, a mayor, and a judge of his town. And then I was starting to and my grandmother was a teacher, and I was just starting to realize how all of there's like little tiny aspects of all of them that have converged into me now. We're starting into, trying to bring forward matriarchal governance, which is connected to my great grandpa, the governance aspect, and then the midwifing in a different way, where I'm midwifing kind of like this new way of being into the world, new way of living with that kind of matriarchal aspect of it. And then mentoring as a teacher, right, is
Yeah.
also bringing in my grandmother. So it's very interesting that I'm wondering if anyone else is going through this process of remembering their father line,
Hmm.
especially.
Yeah.
So, and here's something interesting. My father really repressed his emotions,
Ah,
like
yeah.
full repression.
Yeah.
It comes out in like, "Ah," you know?
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure it's hitting him right now as well.
Wow. Yeah. Thank you
Yeah.
for sharing that. Yeah. I mean, that's a beautiful representation of what this energy can activate with
Mhm.
Pluto in Capricorn. And also, I love this too, because this remembrance piece that's coming in is all around going into the shadow and illuminating what's there. So it's
Yeah.
like the shadow doesn't have to be this all-encompassing, like scary place. This can just be what's kind of veiled right now.
Yeah.
And then this Pluto retrograde is shining a bright light into what has been veiled so we can finally see it. And so this remembrance coming through your father line and things like that, and how it's connecting into what you do, and it's like it can lead to a lot of epiphanies and a lot of awarenesses. What Pluto retrograde can
Yeah.
really help us
Yeah.
uncover. Yeah,
And I'm finding it interesting too that it's in what I do, like for work, because also for me, like when I'm tuning into the masculine, it's about the action,
yeah,
kind of like the expression, the full
yep,
expression of me.
yeah,
So yeah, super interesting that it's bringing up kind of the father line. I didn't really realize that because even others that I'm speaking to are tapping into the memories of their father line as well, So I was like, I wonder if this is a theme, and then you brought it up. So
yes,
there you
it's
go.
definitely a theme.
There's the
And
answer.
and I love that it's bringing in, it's really helping to heal the masculine line, the
Yes.
paternal line, the father line. And it's helping to
Yeah.
heal the internal masculine too.
Mhm.
So this is like a really big hug from the
Yeah.
mother and the mother energy of really allowing that masculine energy to let go of all
Mhm.
of the preconceived ways that they thought they had to be in order
Yeah.
to survive, and really letting the masculine do what he wants to do.
Yeah, like he finally feels safe to be himself,
Yes.
you know? Oh,
Mhm. Yeah.
that's so beautiful.
Yes. And so the last little bit, just True Sky. It's really interesting because in True Sky, if you look at your True Sky chart, the one website I use is masteringthezodiac.com. And so what this chart looks like, it's a lot different than the tropical chart because you'll see the signs actually are varying degrees because the constellations on the path of the sun or the ecliptic are varying degrees. They're not all
Yeah.
exactly 30 degrees like they are in the tropical chart. And
Mhm.
so it's actually not as precise on knowing when you have a Pluto transit activating certain signs, but this is a just like a good general sense of just
Yeah.
bringing this into the space. So if you have anything in True Sky, Capricorn, Aries, Cancer, or Libra in your True Sky chart, you would be considered going through a Pluto transit.
Yeah, okay. Well, yep. All
Yes.
right then.
Yeah. So yeah, so I mean, this is just to show too, it's always so beautiful. Like it still blows my mind that astrology works so precisely in this way because it really helps me almost like just believe in almost like the magic that it seems to
Mm,
have in the
yeah.
synchronicity and the timing of everything. So
That's
just
interesting because I have the app, the pattern. I don't know if you know
yeah.
this app. So
Yes.
in the pattern, it was telling me that this summer was
Hmm.
going to be a big big transit or big transition for me
Ah,
as well, and also my husband.
oh,
So, and we
interesting.
are actually going through that right now. So,
Wow. Yeah. So,
yeah.
yeah. So the
So,
transits are really something to like uncover for yourself if you feel called to do that,
mhm,
because transits can like when transits are when planets are in the sky, they can activate different parts of your chart that
yeah.
can actually really show or illuminate what you might be experiencing right now, which can help to really deepen into your trust that what is
Mhm,
unfolding is meant to right now.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm wondering if anyone's watching this, who's watching this, and maybe comment in the comments here if you have any placements in Capricorn, Aries, Cancer, or Libra, and your true sky. And then you said, what was the website to check for them?
Oh, for your tropical chart, if you want to look at your tropical transits, that would be astro.com.
Mhm.
And then if you want to look at your true sky chart or true sidereal chart, you would go to masteringthezodiac.com.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So tune in, guys, and let us know.
Yes. That'd be so fascinating. All
Yeah.
right, I'm gonna stop share because that was my last slide. Okay.
Ah,
Yeah.
wow. So beautiful. This really gives me like a different perspective on Pluto.
Mhm.
I've always loved it because I knew there was a shadow work aspect to it, but then I didn't realize that there's something that's also really nourishing for me, which is the energy of the mother.
Mhm.
And so giving ourselves a different view of Pluto being more of this feminine energy versus this
Mhm.
masculine energy from what we've been taught
Yeah.
um, is really eye-opening.
Yes.
So, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. And I love the name too of the meaning wealth giver or
yeah,
riches,
yeah,
because I feel like that going into the underworld really can help us uncover the richness of the self, of the
mm,
soul, of just even your deeper truth and your deeper story. So
yeah,
that is really the energy that comes through when Pluto is doing something really big in the chart, or
yeah.
he's or she is retrograde.
I don't know if you've been seeing this on Instagram, but I've been seeing these reels that have been coming onto my feed
Mm.
about if you treat your wife or the mother with all the love and like protecting her and providing for her, you will have the most riches. Like you will
Mm.
be wealthy, you will be
Yeah.
abundant. And this
Yeah.
is kind of like I'm like, I've never heard that before. Like in these reels, like to really recognize to take care of the feminine
Yeah.
and that energy, and then you
Mhm.
will have riches.
Yes.
Whereas before it was like suppressing the feminine.
Yeah.
Now it's like honoring the feminine.
Right.
And I feel like that's what's happening right now. We're
Yeah.
really, she's coming up, she's rising, and she's
Hmm.
like, revere me.
Yeah. And I love that this redefines that the definition of wealth and
Yeah.
riches,
Yes.
because the distorted masculine has and or patriarchy has taught us that we need to go extract to get wealth and riches in the form of money or the form of things that
Transactional.
we're
Yeah.
extracting from something.
Hmm.
But Pluto being connected to this deeper mother energy and also going into knowing when to go into the underworld and knowing when to come out into the light, this is showing the how we can actually include or even just translate in a different way the wealth of that's happening internally. So
Uh,
this is where we get to redefine that as well.
love. That also feels like a celebration,
Yes.
right?
Right. Yes. The feminine's like, hallelujah. Like,
Yeah. Oh, we
and
can
also
party
the
now.
masculine too. The masculine's like, finally, because
Yeah.
now he can relax. Like he doesn't have to
Yes.
feel like he has to like be doing things constantly.
Yeah, like so
Um,
much pressure.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
a lot of pressure without recognition.
Yeah. Yeah. And the feminine though recognizes. The feminine's like, I
Mhm.
see you and
It's
I
so
recognize
true.
you.
It's so true. And even in relationships, right? Like,
Yeah.
I feel like when you recognize your partner, like if you are in a heterosexual
Yeah.
relationship and you're recognizing your masculine counterpart, that they actually feel really good about it. Like, look at all
Like good
that
for
hard work
me.
you did.
Yeah.
Amazing. I love you for that. Like,
Yeah.
so proud of you. And I
Yes.
do with my husband, and he lights up. They just need
Same.
more of it,
Same. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
a really great point. Now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, oh yeah, that happens.
Yeah. They need recognition, the masculine for sure. And even uh
Exactly.
our own masculine energy needs
Yes.
that recognition too. So, and I think recognition is synonymous then with celebration, right?
Yes. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ah, beautiful. Is there any maybe last things you want to say about Pluto retrograde and maybe how to navigate the next few months?
Yes. So the next few months are very fascinating in the astrology. We have a Mercury retrograde coming up actually in July. We have Uranus in tropical astrology actually shifting into a new sign for the first time in like 83 years. We also have a Jupiter Saturn square, which can really feel like this contraction and expansion energy at the same time. We're
Mm,
experiencing that right now. And also we have Mars, the planet of the personal will, and also he can be seen as the god of war. Today, he has aligned with the fixed star Regulus, and Regulus is the heart star of Leo,
ooh.
which is so fascinating because Leo is connected to leadership and also
Mm.
to kings, which is fascinating because of that protest.
Yes.
Yes.
Wow.
So that's happening today. Exactly. Mars aligns with Regulus. So you can actually go outside and look in the night sky. And there's at a certain time of the night, I think it's around 9 p.m. It was like really high in the sky, where it looks like almost stars are super close together. And one's
Mhm.
red and one has like a whitish color to it.
Mhm.
That's Regulus and Mars
Oh,
together.
wow.
Yeah. And so this is, I really feel like the masculine is coming into healing his heart,
Hmm.
which is where we know that Uhane
Yeah.
is stationed
Yes.
in Aloha Ma. And so this is where we get to go redefine what leadership means, what
Mm.
power means, and
Oh,
also what sovereignty means to us. So we're in this really big transitional state still. It's
I
like a
love that.
lot of very paradoxical energies taking place right now.
Yeah.
And so really just being like taking a moment and going into stillness, I feel like is just the best suggestion because it can just seem almost overwhelming with all of this back
Yeah.
to back to back astrology happening.
Yeah.
And yeah, just coming into stillness, coming into your breath, coming into your body, and coming
Mm.
into the present moment and turning off your social media or turning off the news
Hmm.
is highly suggested
Oh, I
too.
turn off the news.
Yes. Just just shutting that off for a moment
Yeah.
even can actually
Yeah.
really help to clear your space
Yeah.
and come down and into yeah, the new.
Yeah, just like being with yourself for a
Yes.
while. And
Yes.
sometimes like when I can't shut things off, I just close my eyes.
Yes,
You know,
exactly.
just close
Yeah.
your eyes and tune in. And when things get overwhelming, just allow yourself to just be in the body
Yeah.
and listen
Yeah.
to the body. And it's crazy the alignment that's happening because when we spoke about on Whispers about the alignment of the Whispers summit and then also the retreat, it's like a time to do this. For
Yes.
the Pluto retrograde to be integrated
Yeah.
is to really come inward and have support.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah. And also, if I may just share just some wisdom from my father-in-law. So you
Yeah.
said where you had closed your eyes, just closing your eyes. If you can't shut everything off, just closing your eyes. I
Mm,
love that because there was something that my father-in-law has shared with me. So he is 100% Native Hawaiian. He's born and raised on Maui. And so I asked him one day how he would navigate the ocean at night on a boat. And so he said, if you think you're lost, close your eyes. The
mm,
ocean will tell you where you are.
wow.
And I love this symbolism too, because if we think we're lost, just close our eyes and tune in. And
Yeah.
we can realize that actually we may be uncertain, but we're not lost.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So beautiful. Thank you so much, sister, for being here and giving us all of this information and intuitiveness around Pluto and new perspectives to reflect on and integrate. So I hope that whoever watches this can take it all in and just be in real introspection because I feel like this energy is very introspective and reflective. But it's also about completing. So be in it and also complete it.
Yes. Yes, exactly. All of that. And thank you so much, sister, for having me on. I love Pluto. And so any chance I get to talk about Pluto, I'm so ready for it. So this invitation that you reached out to me and to have a Pluto talk, I was like, oh my God, yes, it's time.
I
So
knew
thank you
it.
so much. Yes, I'm just elated that we got to have it today.
Yes. All right, everybody. So if you want more support and guidance with maybe your birth charts or navigating this, you can always reach out to Sis here. And I'll leave her information in the description box so you can reach out to her. And yeah, thank you all for being here and have a beautiful Pluto journey. Bye, everyone.